You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a more modern approach to selling, the application of virtual and hybrid selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. And welcome to the Sales Today podcast and this special edition in the Selling in the Golf mini-series. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Corina Goetz, who is founder of StarCat, which is a Middle East specialist. So, Corina, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
And first up, obvious question really is, what is a Middle East specialist? Could you just give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, of course. So, well, basically my company StarCat, there's actually an interesting story here as well. It's a lot of people say, oh, what has that got to do with cat and whatever, but it's got nothing to do with a cat. It's basically taken from 5-star consulting and training. So the CAT stands for consulting and training. And I've been working with clients from the Middle East for sort of like the past 20 years. And when I say Middle East, I predominantly mean Gulf. So we talk like Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman. Those are sort of like the 6 Gulf countries. And you know, when I started out, there really wasn't that much information. And I now feel I've acquired all this information through meeting people and through getting to know them and traveling there. And so my company is now there to educate people about the Middle East and basically tell them what is the culture, who is who, what is the right business etiquette, you know, maybe how is it different to sell in the Middle East than it is in the West. So it's sort of to give people the confidence to go out there and do business successfully, because if there's a few things that that you consider from the very beginning, you have a massive advantage.
Sure. So a client might be somebody who's working for a Western company, European company, or American company. They've got a project. There's some reason they're going to have to go there for the first time. Might find it a bit overwhelming, a bit daunting. And you're saying, hey, look, let me take some of this stress away from you. I can tell you how to do stuff, what's going to go on, what to expect, how to prepare.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it also saves you all the Googling, the like, oh my God, where do I even get started on this?
Yeah. And so you said you've been doing this for 20 years. What's your backstory to do this? You know, what puts you in the position to do that?
So my roots are in hospitality. So I've always worked in like luxury hotels. And that's where I initially met a lot of people from the Middle East, because I am actually German. I don't speak any Arabic. I'm also not Muslim. So it's quite fascinating. But my German nature, I think, really gelled quite well with, with a lot of the people from the Middle East. And I sort of totally stumbled into this by accident, but I fell in love with the culture and how hospitable the people were and how welcoming they were and how they really let you in. And I think that's just such an underrated thing, because a lot of people just don't know about it. They just know what they know from the media, but they don't actually know, let's say, anyone from Saudi and how great they are.
No, you're so right on that. But I remember when we were chatting just earlier, you said something like, you really wouldn't think it, that somebody with a German nature is meeting somebody from an Arab culture and you are going to gel, because in many ways you can always say, well, they're so opposite potentially. And you're making me smile with some of the stereotypes they speak.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, it's like, I'm your typical German. I'm very organized. I like everything in its place. And I think, sometimes I think with the Middle East, you need like a little bit more patience. You also need, a bit more flexibility, and that's actually really nice. For me, to sort of learn that and also tell other people, if it's 1:00, okay, it could be 1:10. It may not be 1:00 on the dot if you're like in your Germanness, I'd say. So yeah, I think my German side actually gelled quite well, because I've been able to organize larger groups and make things happen really quick and think outside of the box and stuff. So I think people appreciate that efficient that you're efficient, that you do things that you say you do. And I think that's a really good trait. I mean, funny enough, funny story here. I often get compared. People say to me, we do like the German people. They like Mercedes and BMW, very reliable. And you know exactly what you get. So anyway, it's a nice comparison.
No, no, it's a very brilliant comparison. And but what's lovely is that you're bringing the best of both worlds, and that you've learned to flex, to be patient. And that's something, again, I can speak from personal experience. When I've worked in the region, I've learned a hell of a lot. Learned a lot about myself, actually, and I'm better for doing that. So, um, okay, so when we're thinking about sales, and salespeople, what would you say are some of the kind of the differences and stuff that you would brief a client on in saying, look, just beware when you're going to work there, you're going to need to be alert to this stuff?
I think there's quite a few facets, but I think my number one would be, I would say you need to build a relationship. People will only do business if you have a relationship. And in order to build a relationship successfully, you need to have some understanding of the culture because, you need to find some common ground. I mean, trust and relationships you can only build if you're genuinely interested. So you may need to know, for example, in Saudi, you need to know a little bit about Vision 2030 because that's what is important to people there. And this is what everybody's talking about. And then they also feel you've taken an active interest. Then, of course, you need to be aware. My number two, I'd say, would be negotiations. So negotiation is part of the culture. So this needs to become part of your strategy, and you need to be aware that people like to negotiate, and maybe very differently than what you would do in the West. And then, of course, thirdly, I think if you want to do business long term, you need to keep the relationship alive. So it's no good just building a relationship for the 5 minutes that you're doing business, but if you actually keep the relationship alive, you could potentially get a lot more clients, a lot more new projects. And in order to do that, I think you again need to have an interest in the culture because you need to see what are like the key dates that maybe I should send them a little message for that are important to them. But if you do all of these things, I think people really let you in, and they let you in much more so than anywhere else. And you can generally move a lot of things in business, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting doing this series. There is a consistent message, which is relationships, and just slow down a little bit. We know, from a British, from a German, from a US point, we want to get on with stuff. We crack on, tension grabber. Let's start talking about business. We're not going to waste time here, and that will just turn people off. It'll be just like, whoa, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the small talk, if you like. It's actually big talk because it is so important. You've got to be
It's
aware of how that is going to happen, and to get good at it.
Yeah, and totally. And people want to know about you. They want to know about your family. They want to know what you are about. What are your values? What is important to you? And only then will they make a decision on whether they do business with you. I mean,
Yeah,
in the Middle East, everything is about relationship.
yeah. And again, I think that's something that people can struggle with a little bit when it's the ones about you. You're gonna have to share some stuff about yourself. And some people kind of almost have this personal and
Yeah.
professional kind of characters, and it's like, no, no, those things come together, and you're gonna have to start to share that stuff.
Yeah, you have to merge that for sure. But then I think you also need to remember about the people that you do business with. You also need to remember some stuff about them, about their family, about what is important to them, because that's the only way um, that the relationship will be genuine. But once it's genuine, I think it can go. It has so much potential. It's so different, and like to me, that's the mind blowing thing. I think once people let you in, they really let you in. You meet
Yeah,
everyone. You meet the friend, the cousin, the brother, the sister. It's amazing.
yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it, and I would use this word for any salesperson anywhere, to be fair. But you just said, be curious. Ask questions, try to understand. And what I've found in the area, and maybe this is what you found in the early days, is when you're asking people, like, why do you do this? How does this work? What's going on there? It's not rude. People love telling you. That's what I found. I learned so much. I used to love
Yeah,
trips. I
yeah,
could come
I
back. I was
agree.
supposed to be training, and I'd learned more myself when I came back. Um, about Islam, about how people do things, why they do things. It was brilliant life.
Yes. Yeah, no, no, totally. And they love to show you, their country. They're so proud of their heritage. And it's so interesting because there's so much there. And they love telling you. Absolutely. Like you said, it's brilliant. So you don't need to be shy to ask.
I could think of so many experiences, but one that you might like, where I was in decent hotel working there, and sometimes the hotels often change the food. So there's different
Yes.
themed food, isn't there? It was in Saudi, and it was Saudi food. I ate so much that lunchtime because everyone's like, "Oh, this bit's from my region. Here, try this, try this, try this." I wasn't just being polite. I like food. So I was just eating so much. I had to go and try and run the training session in the afternoon. I was full. But it was brilliant because they're explaining, and of course I like, why is this and why is this? It's easy if you
Yes.
get it right, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think be curious and have an open mind, and don't listen to all the noise that you hear. I think in the media, I think you need to really keep an open mind. And I think that, to me, I think is the most amazing, that anyone that has gone there that had never been to Saudi and they decided to keep an open mind, for them it turned out to be the most amazing experience and they loved every bit about it.
Yeah, open minded, absolutely the key to get the most out of it, and to learn. As I say, but both of us have said, we're better for having worked in that area. Um, so what else would you say then that a salesperson can do to adapt there? You sort of said, keeping the open mind, be curious. Are there any other sort of things that you'll say, "Oh, just watch out for this," or "Do that," and it'll really, really sort of help you um, establish that relationship and then be more successful?
I mean, I think very much so, keep up with what the news are, because and there's so many easy ways nowadays to do this. You could just have Google alerts on certain things, and then find out what the news are. And then if let's say, for example, your client is Saudi, or you're dealing with somebody Saudi in business, and you see, I don't know, the national football team has won a match, send them a little note and say congratulations, because that will really show them that you care and that you've taken an interest. And that, to me, has been the best way of how to strengthen your relationships, and also like how to keep your relationships over time.
Yeah, football is popular, isn't it?
Everybody loves football out there, of course.
And I think what I've found is that people have a European team and a British team. So really, you can set your Google alerts to find out the Saudi scores, the European team scores, and the British team scores. There you go. There you go. There's your contact strategy.
Yeah, no, but the Saudi teams have really like picked up and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's a big deal for them if they play like in the World Cup or something. Everybody knows about it, and everybody is really rooting for them until they get out, and then they root for someone else.
Yeah, yeah. So find out who's choice number two, who they're going to go with. Oh no, it's brilliant. Yeah, open mind is definitely the way forward. Um, okay, so just thinking about yourself now, um, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? So when you were
That's a
just starting out, what would you sort of say would get you on this path quicker, if you like? 'Cause, clearly you love it and taking a lot from it.
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question. I think the one thing that I think I did, but it would still be my advice today now as well, is keep learning, keep being curious and ask questions. But I think also, if you get told no, this is something I recently had, and I absolutely love it. If you get told no for whichever project or whatever you're working on, just see it as a new opportunity instead of seeing it as the NO. Just break it down and say, this is actually a new opportunity for me, and let's see where this is going to lead me.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? So if I'm saying, no, we don't want to work on this project with you, how does that become a new opportunity?
I would say you just look at it in a different way. Maybe on the project there was somebody that you can work with on another project, or maybe you made an impact on someone, or maybe you weren't just quite the right fit for this project, but somebody on the team will remember you, and there will be another opportunity. Maybe not straight away, but maybe in a month's time. So I just think, to reframe rejection is so important, because maybe sometimes it just isn't the right fit at that point. And and I think you kind of need to just keep going, because we often say, oh God, they said no, and like now, oh God, it's all gone, and you go into this downward spiral, and you're like, oh, this is all a disaster. But maybe try and look at it from a different perspective.
I love that because it's the project that's no, but the relationship is still very much go. It's that you're still that person that I've liked spending time with and talking to and
Yes,
understanding. And yeah, there will be something in the future. So that's great.
exactly.
That's great sales advice, full stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are. Oh no, I absolutely love that. How can people get in touch with you? Because I know you've got a load of resource that you like to share and genuinely want to help people be successful in the area.
Yeah.
How can they get in touch?
So, I mean, pretty much all of the resources and everything is on my website, which is star-cat.co.uk. But you can also follow me on LinkedIn and ask questions there. We do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, on social media, to try and educate people about all sorts of different things. And little nuggets that we picked up along the way. Or sometimes it's just the meaning of a particular word in Arabic that is just good to know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll put those links into the show notes. But what I'm going to do is really encourage people to connect with you on LinkedIn. I love the stuff you share on there.
Oh, thank you.
Well, that's what we're talking about. It's so positive, and it just shines through that you want people to kind of get as much out of the area as you have, So, yeah, I think you present it really
Definitely.
nicely.
Great.
Karina, no, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us and just sharing some of that. Um, I'll look forward to hopefully meeting you over there at some stage.
Yes, no, that would be great. Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure to talk to you this morning.
Oh, no, pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, Fred Copestake. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for more and leave a review. If you didn't like it, also leave a review. It's all about feedback and learning.